guys went out and competed today. It was a little difficult, some of the elements today with the wind. You know, again, we've only been out 3 times this spring with the conditions that we've had. So we didn't punt it quite as well or field it quite as well, but those are, you know, acclimatization things relative to my evaluation. You know, saw some good things. You know, we'll have to watch the film, really. It's one of those things where I really can't get into anything in depth. You probably saw more than I did. I was trying to work on the sideline, talking to players. So, you know, again, from my perspective, I wanted to make sure that anytime we get here at Notre Dame that our kids get a chance to get a feel of game-like situations. So, you know, coming out of the tunnel, halftime, making it, you know, given the opportunity to talk to the guys as a group and then going back out. So we accomplished all those things.
So was the Lewis Nix 2-point conversion an example of Chuck Martin's brilliant call playing?
I think you would have to put it all on Chuck. You know, Chuck will have to answer the questions regarding Lou. I lost the bet to Lou Nix. So we had a bet. I lost it, and the wager was that if I lost the bet that I would have to put together an offensive play for him. And so I paid off my wager.
And what exactly did you do, though? I mean, what did you?
Lou and I had a personal bet on some academics, okay. And he surprised me, and so I paid up. And I said, "What do you want?" And I figured he'd want something. He came up, "I want to score a touchdown in the spring game." As you know, we had a hard time scoring touchdowns in the spring game, and I didn't think that was going to come to reality. We tried a couple of times right before the half. We had an opportunity, and we couldn't get the ball close enough. We had to settle some field goals. So, you know, when Malik hit it, we changed the play to a 2-point play, and we're able to get that one off.
And if you had won the bet, you would have gotten?
I would have gotten Lewis Nix to play for 67 plays, at minimum, every game. So he's just a great personality, and the guys got a kick out of it. I thought it was a good way to finish up the spring.
How do you think Ronnie Stanley did stepping in playing guards?
I like the way he competed. I'll have to, you know, again, make certain that I don't say too much about it, but what I did like is going in at guard, you know, and having that flexibility to play. He just played tackle most of the time, so the guard and tackle combination has been good for us, and I think he competed pretty well.
Brian, just at first glance, the offense not having scored a touchdown to the end there, any initial thoughts on what you saw out there, why things maybe didn't go smoothly on that side?
Yeah, I know. It's really, you know, you're not game planning. You know, you're trying to stay away from doing some things. So it's not really an indication. I think if there's any concern, not concerns, if there's anything that I would like to do better is to make certain that, you know, we don't fall back into some of the mistakes we made last year. And I thought we at times we fell back into some of the mistakes we made last year offensively. Look, I think today, spring game, I don't know if we went 13 games and had, you know, 3rd and longs like we did today. I mean, we had some 3rd and 20s and 30s. That can't happen. And so I'm not happy about that. But by and large, you know, a lot of them are correctable.
Brian, you lost 2 running backs to graduation. Could you talk about how Atkinson and McDaniel played today, in your opinion?
I thought they played, you know, and competed. You know, George, you could see, is a big physical kid. I mean, he ran hard. He's got obviously some speed. We've seen that. We just got to get his pads down a little bit. Carlo reminded him that he should run a little bit lower at times, and I thought that was a great teaching point for him. You know, Cam made a great catch coming out of the backfield on a 3rd down situation. I thought he ran the ball effectively. So, you know, those are 2 really good backs for us, and I think Will made a nice catch on a seam throw that he's got to make. I thought that was, you know, positive for him, and just got to continue to develop.
And you talked about not regressing in terms of mistakes. We obviously don't see nearly as much as you do, but your impressions on the spring Everett had and the kind of growth
he had a good spring. You know, overall, really liked his development in the spring, and you know, one practice or one game, you know, format is not going to take away from the kind of spring he had. But I think it's a good reminder for him. He's still learning, and he'll get better because of it.
Or to your right, I know you were only outside a few times, but the punting game, from what you saw during the spring, was it as inconsistent as it was today?
Well, Kyle's moving into that position, and the reality of it is we got to continue to work with him, and I think the wind, obviously, and being outdoors is going to be part of our consideration, but we got to get better there. There's no question. TJ lost the ball as well. I'd like to leave the spring feeling a little bit better about it, but we got a lot of work to do there.
Coach, with so many options at linebacker, inside and outside, what's going to separate the core of guys between now and August?
I don't know that there's going to be a separation. I think they're all going to play. I think they're all going to play significant roles. I thought Jared did a nice job today. Carlo, and then when Danny Fox is in there, those are the three guys that, obviously are going to get a lot of the work inside. Joey Schmidt had a nice interception. Kendall's running around out there. He's very active. But those three guys are going to get a lot of the work.
How will the rest fit in? How can you see the rest fitting in right now?
Oh, I think they're all fit in. I think there's just, there's not going to be enough reps for everybody. But we'll have very good depth at that position. If we lose a guy, they're going to step in and do a nice job for us. So, you go through 13 games, you never really have them all 100%. You're going to lose a guy here or there. And we were fortunate last year we didn't lose Manti for any games. But all those guys will be prepared and play championship football.
Brian, what did you like about CJ this spring as he maybe surprised you guys with what he might be able to give you in the fall?
He's just, a very athletic kid. He didn't fight the ball. It seemed to come fairly natural, but, he's very raw. He's got a lot of work to do, but we feel very confident that if we stick with him and continue to work with him, that we can see a finished product as we move through the season. I don't think it's going to be boom, come Temple, he's where we want him to be, but he's got a lot of really high-end traits in terms of speed and size, and he's got to run better routes. He's got to track the ball consistently, but I'd rather work with a guy like that that has those traits and just know that he's work in progress.
Brian, red zone offense today down the middle. Red zone offense today still didn't get in the end zone. Have you seen the progression that you've maybe wanted to see this spring in that area?
Well, we really didn't have a red zone offense today. We just ran plays. So, there was nothing that we said, okay, when we get into this area, we were just running plays. Sometimes we were just trying to get that clock running. So, I would not evaluate this game and look at issues in the red zone. We spent a lot of time in situational red zone during the spring practices and didn't call any of those plays today.
Brian, up front. Just small picture with Everett, his biggest jump this spring was what? And then big picture, what do you need from these guys over the next 3 months when you're not able to be hands-on with them until August?
Well, Everett's knowledge base of the offense and the things that he needs to use to run the offense efficiently, he's got all that down. He probably has a little bit too much knowledge, and we've got to pull back some of those things. He's got so much going on in his head. He wants to do too much. It took him away from some progression reads today that he didn't make those mistakes last year as a freshman. So, it's a great – we got a lot to teach off it, and it's going to be very positive for Everett. And the second question was?
Over the next 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I brought that up to the team is that, we'll meet with the team Monday night, and we turn him over to Coach Longo. He'll go and take the team over the next 2 weeks to a segment that we use. Now that we've got our base down, we go to speed school. So our kids will focus on some speed development for 2 weeks. That'll take us through our exams. They're in an active rest period. And then we work hard at, that coat of armor, that strength that prevents injuries. And then middle of June, we'll begin 7-on-7s and, one-on-ones, and those guys are going to have to take a jump, and that's where you develop your leaders. That's when those guys take over. Last year's team did a great job during the summer, and they're going to be challenged to do the same.
Brian, right here in front. Just a follow-up on the quarterback situation. Between now and August 31st, could there be something that would change the pecking order, if you will, of what we saw today, 1 through 4, or do you feel pretty solid with it?
No, there won't be any changes until we get to camp, if there is any changes at all. So, it would have to be coach's eyes on them, in terms of if there were going to be any changes.
Coach, at the end of last spring, you mentioned that you felt good going into the season because your strength was on both sides of the line. Feel the same way this year?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Yeah, no question. I think, if Chris Watt wasn't in there today, I think we'd get a little bit more of a sense. But I think up front we're pretty good on both sides of the ball. So yes, I feel pretty good about that.
Coach, at the beginning of spring, you talked about developing an identity. Did you see anything developing out of the spring so far?
Yeah, I think it's a very confident group of guys. They've got a lot of confidence in themselves. They believe that they're going to be successful. So I would say that the identity of this group right now is that they're a confident group. Now, we're going to have some tough times, and we'll see how we bounce back from those. And that's really the measure, right? Everybody's good when they're 0-0. But I like their confidence. And with that, Tom, it's important to know that they haven't slacked off from the little things. So they've combined both those things, which gives me a comfort level that they understand what it takes to be successful.